Okay. I was where you cannot feel the breeze of the ocean. Only now I can see the trees in the distance, reaching out to the moon.
Hey everybody, Angela Eugene here. Thank you so much for joining my YouTube channel, Blessed Conversations with Angie. Tonight we will be discussing my book called HerStory, Surviving the Journey Called Life Through Rejection, Abandonment, and Fear. She becomes Authentically Me. I have tonight on the show my daughter, Jasmine Eugene. How are you doing, Jazz?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So these three areas I talk about: rejection, abandonment, and fear. Can you relate to any of these areas? And if so, just share just what your experience is like with one of the areas that I discuss in the book.
I believe we all have dealt with abandonment, rejection, and fear. Recently, I've dealt with fear. Fear of my job. There was a higher position opening, and before that position opened, I was so ready to be promoted, and when that time came for me to actually apply and actually go through with the interview, I kind of had doubts, and I didn't really put as much trust as I should have in God, and that position actually went to someone else. Then I worked really hard, I prayed on it, another position opened up, and I just put everything in God's hands, and I actually got the promotion. So
yes.
I did deal with fear,
yes.
However, I did overcome fear. So
awesome.
So I wanted to ask you, what prompted you to actually write this book?
I always knew I wanted to share my story of the things that I went through in my life, and I wanted to make sure that through my story I could inspire someone, even though one might say, "Oh my God, you went through all of that? That is so terrible." I wanted to turn it around. In the Word, it says all things work together for our good. So I really wanted to display that when I was writing the book.
Being transparent. So do you feel transparency is necessary when you're writing books?
Yes. I feel that transparency will be able to reach people where they are, because someone will see that they are not alone, and because you are because I've shared my story in such real and being raw, one might say, "Oh, I wouldn't have said all of that," but I feel like being transparent is what captured the reader to say, "Oh my God, I can relate to that. Wow, so what I went through may not have been as bad as her, but if she could share that story with the whole world, maybe I can share it with someone else, and someone else will be encouraged."
So let's talk about a time, because there are some people who have not read your book.
Yes, that's
true.
So
let's talk about maybe a moment or part in your book where you speak about either rejection, fear, or abandonment.
So in the book, I do talk about the time when I was asked to go out on a date by a guy, and I asked my mom. I went through all these feelings of fear, asking my mom, "Can I go out for my very first time?" And then for my mom to say yes. Well, my stepdad to talk to my mom, get her to say yes, get them to agree, only for the guy to not call me back. I didn't hear from him. I didn't get dressed. I got all dressed up, just ready to go, because I'm like excited because my mom finally said yes. And I was rejected, and that was the worst feeling. It was like, what did I do? Why doesn't he like me? Why didn't he call? Like, just beating myself up, and that was just not a great feeling at all.
Yeah. Well, I will say that was God, because look at the man that you married now. So
that is true. When did she say that? Bias to her dad. Isn't that funny?
Just saying.
So, I talk a little bit about that all through the book, a little bit about the abandonment, a little bit about fear. You know, again, everyone can relate to those areas. And if you haven't related or if you haven't experienced those three areas, live long enough and you definitely will have some fear. You definitely will feel some rejection and you'll feel abandonment.
Or you know someone who has. So you
Yes.
can read this and encourage someone who has dealt with any of those things
That's
or
it.
areas.
Well, Jazz, I thank you so much for joining my show.
No
Blessed Conversations with Angie. And
wait. Tell the people where they can get the book.
Yes, yes. So you can get the book on Amazon, and right there, Her Story: Surviving the Journey Called Life Through Rejection, Abandonment, and Fear. So this will conclude our first episode. We will be coming back to talk more about the book and other things. You know, I stepped out of my zone, out of my comfort zone, and out of my fear to have this awesome channel. I thank each and every one of you for joining me, and we just say see you later on the next show, Blessed Conversations with Angie.